Okay, let's be real. We're all drowning in data, right? It just never stops growing. And managing all that storage is a constant headache. But what if I told you there's a killer feature built right into Windows Server 2025 that could literally claw back a huge chunk of your storage space? Well, today we're going to dig into exactly how it works.
So let me ask you this. Are your server storage costs just constantly climbing? I mean, whether you're running file servers, dealing with backups, or managing a whole fleet of virtual machines, that little usage bar just keeps creeping up and up. It's one of the biggest, most persistent challenges for any of us in IT. But what if you could put the brakes on it?
Okay, get ready for this number. 95%. No, that is not a typo. In some cases, especially with workloads like virtual machines, you could see storage savings of up to 95%. It sounds totally unbelievable, I know, but trust me, it's very, very real. So what is this magic trick? Well, it's a feature called data deduplication. It's not brand new, but it's been seriously beefed up in Windows Server 2025 to handle the kind of data problems we're facing today. So what exactly is it? At its heart, it's actually a really simple but brilliant idea. The system goes through your data, finds all the bits and pieces that are identical, and instead of keeping hundreds or thousands of copies, it keeps just one. Then, everywhere else that data appeared, it just leaves a tiny little pointer. Think of it like this. Instead of printing 100 copies of a huge manual, you just print one and give everyone else a sticky note telling them where to find it. Now, here's where things get really interesting for anyone looking at what's new. Data duplication has been around for a while on the good old NTFS file system. But the huge news for 2025 is how much better it works with ReFS, the resilient file system. And that, my friends, is an absolute game changer for today's server workloads. All right, we've got the what, but what about the how? How does this thing actually pull off these crazy savings? Let's pop the hood and take a look at the engine. It boils down to this really elegant 4-step process that just hums along in the background. First, it scans your drive. Then, and this is the cool part, it breaks your files down into these small, variable-sized pieces it calls chunks. After that, it figures out which chunks it has never seen before and stores just those unique ones. And finally, for every duplicate chunk it finds, it swaps it out with one of those tiny pointers we talked about. And that right there, that's the secret sauce. This whole chunking thing is just incredibly effective. Think about it. How many identical system files do you have across, say, 50 different virtual machines? A ton. The system finds all that redundant data, keeps one copy, and get this, it often compresses that unique chunk for even more space savings. Okay, so that little pointer has a fancy technical name. It's called a reparse point. All it is a tiny signpost that tells the file system, hey, the data you're looking for, it's over here. So when you open a file, everything happens seamlessly in the background. And this is the most important part. From your perspective, and from the perspective of your applications, the file is completely whole and untouched. Okay, so that's the theory. But let's get practical. How does this actually apply in the real world? Well, the system is smart. It knows that you wouldn't treat a file server the same way you treat a Hyper-V host. So you get these different modes you can set based on what the server is actually doing. There's a mode specifically for general-purpose file servers, your classic user shares and documents. There's another one tuned for backup servers or Hyper-V hosts, which is perfect for all those big, chunky, and very similar virtual hard disk files. And of course, there's a special profile for VDI, or virtual desktop infrastructure, where the savings can be absolutely massive. And this, right here, is why the 2025 version is such a big deal, especially for modern setups. The improvements to dedupe on ReFS are aimed squarely at things like hyper-converged infrastructure, or HCI. We're talking about major efficiency gains designed from the ground up to make your virtual machine storage leaner and faster. Okay, we've covered the what, the how, and the where. Let's get to the best part, the impact. What do these savings actually look like for you and your servers? And hey, you don't have to just take my word for it. This is something you can go and check out for yourself right now. If you've got deduplication running on a Windows server, just pop open PowerShell and run this one simple command. Get dedupe status. It'll give you the straight-up numbers on how much space you've reclaimed. And when you run that command, this is the kind of thing you're going to see. Seriously, the difference is just staggering. You start with this huge amount of data, what you think you're using, and then you see the reality of how little physical disk space it's actually taking up.
It's just a beautiful picture of efficiency.
I really want to hammer this point home because it's the number one question people have. You get all this amazing free space with zero compromises. Your files look the same, they act the same, and they are just as safe and accessible as they were before. There's no downside to the integrity of your data.
So that leaves us with just one question, right? When you can suddenly store way more backups, spin up more VMs, or maybe just push off that next crazy expensive storage purchase for another year, what are you going to do with all that extra space? It really does open up a whole new world of possibilities.